Just like Sadiq, millions of Nigerian children grow up with a dream they want to fulfill. But from their early age, lack of quality education turns that dream to a nightmare. For some other children, they have no access to basic education, not to even talk about the quality. Primary school education is the most important level of education for every child. It is at this stage that the foundation blocks are laid. These foundation blocks are the bricks upon which secondary education and tertiary education rest. West African nation Nigeria has a population of about 200 million people. Figures from the United Nations estimate the number of out-of-school children in the country to be about 13.2 million, with the 19 northern states accounting for around 70% of the total figure. In the northwestern region of Nigeria lies Kaduna State, the center of learning. Kaduna is estimated to have a population of over 9 million people, making it the third most populous state in Nigeria. The state has a total of 4,216 public primary schools across the 23 local government areas, with a total population of over 2 million pupils as at the 2018-2019 academic session. The Kaduna State Basic Education Board (SUBEB) is in charge of the affairs of public primary schools in the state.
We have a total number of 4,216 public primary schools in Kaduna State, gotten across all the 23 local government areas. Basically, every year, as we all know, at the beginning of every session, we used to have this particular enrollment. Presently, with the current school census that took place, we are able to come up with a total number of 2,014,105 enrollment pupils for our public primary schools children enrollment in the state.
We are determined to fix public education and raise their standards so that private education will become only a luxury. As we make progress,
the government of Kaduna State, ushered in 2015, declared it was undertaking full reforms in the education sector, and this led to the declaration of basic education as free and compulsory in the state. This policy meant that parents would face state sanctions if they don't enroll their children of school age back into school. Logically, this new policy should trigger total compliance in enrolling wards back into schools. But the one lingering topic still remains the issue of almajiris in the north. This leaves everyone with so much work to do. One of the proposed solutions is to allow the almajiris get Western education in their Sangaya schools, and from primary 3, the almajiris would enroll fully to attend public primary schools like other pupils.
Very soon, the state SUBEB are going to make an outing to reach out. We may have heard that sometimes ago the Commissioner of Education made that pronouncement that they are going to work. The ministry is going to work hard in bringing together the Alaraman to allow the almajiris to have this Western education in their Sangaya schools. And the plan is each Sangaya school that accepted to have that Western education in Sangaya, we start with the primary 1 and 2, so that the teacher, the primary school teacher, nearby primary school teacher will be posted to be going to that Sangaya school, teaching the almajiris primary 1 and 2. When the almajiris, graduated to primary 3, then from there they will be attending the nearby primary school to meet with the other children, in that primary 3, 4, 5, 6. When they graduated, then they go to junior secondary school 1. So we hope by then the education, had entered them.
With the continuous battle to get more and more parents to embrace modern education, a challenge that pervades northern Nigeria, stakeholders have continued to emphasize the role of SUBEB, the Parents Teachers Association (PTA), and the School-Based Management Committee (SBMC) as focal in reorienting parents and guardians on the need to give their wards at least elementary education.
We are determined to fix public education and raise their standards so that private education will become only a luxury. As we make progress, we will require that our senior officials to enroll their children in public school.
In 2017, the Kaduna State government disengaged 21,000 teachers as part of its reforms in public primary schools. This was after conducting a competency test, and those who were said to have failed the test were consequently disengaged from the teaching service. To replace the sacked 21,000 teachers, the government called for application from suitable and qualified candidates to fill teaching vacancies in public schools. A total of 25,000 new teachers were recruited at the end of the process.
Yeah, I can briefly say that was as a result of the falling standard of education, because we found out that a majority of these teachers cannot be able to perform. And that was why there was an examination rendered to them, or a test given to them. And after admission, the exam test, some of them could not pass that examination. And as a result of that, we have to replace them with competent ones. You find out that somebody may bring up a certificate that he cannot be able to depend. So on the basis of that, when they are taken to the classroom, they could not be able to do as much as expected from them. And the issues of replacement comes into being. So we quickly replace them with the competent ones, and they are really trying. For now, it's a different story. When you visit our public primary school, you see the difference. And even from the parents or PTA, when you interact with them, they'll tell you, yes, the reform is really gaining ground.
The sack of the 21,000 teachers generated lots of divergent opinions on the subject. While some people felt the sack was unjustifiable and faulted the process, others felt it was the right step that would benefit the education sector. This is what some residents of the metropolis had to say on the issue.
My own opinion, for those who passed, I think they are good to go, because we have to look up to our children's education, the younger ones, the people coming up, because they are the leaders of tomorrow. So if we don't give them a good upbringing, so what do we expect them to give to the society in return? So I think the state government has done a very good one.
There is no teacher that's supposed to be a teacher when he is not qualified. Number one, you understand? And the negative side of the sacking of the teachers, many of the teachers that have been sacked don't have any other job doing. So in as much as they have been sacked, they're supposed to be provided an alternative so that they will not keep on running around the streets. That is why we have quack doctors, unqualified doctors and other things that used to mesmerize the life of people.
What would be the essence of having quality teachers if there are no learners? Since the turn of the millennium, enrollment figures in public primary schools have continued to drop. This was because of the numerous issues ranging from cultural disregard for modern education to lack of finance to send children to school. However, recently, enrollment figures have begun to rise. The Permanent Secretary at SUBEB explains that favorable policies are responsible for this.
That is when the involvement of the community comes in. We have the SBMCs as part of the communities. We employ their participation into this particular area, so that they meet with the Alaramas and the community leaders and whoever that has a hand to it, or a stakeholder concerning education in our community, so that they come together, they sit and decide, and also give them suggestions and try to persuade them on how to allow these children to join in with the modern or formal system of education.
Across the 23 local government areas of Kaduna State, only about 4,216 public primary schools are available for over 2 million pupils in the state. Over time, these schools have deteriorated as the infrastructures have become inappropriate for learning. For a long time, in schools, pupils sit on the floor, desks are unavailable, windows are broken, doors are bad, and the entire learning environment is inconducive. Shortly after assumption of office in 2015, the government of Malam Nasir Ahmed El-Rufai said it would be undertaking massive infrastructural reforms in the state's public primary schools. To correct the massive infrastructural deficit was always going to go up huge financial resources from government and education partners. The Department of Physical Projects and Monitoring at Kaduna State Basic Education Board (SUBEB) is assigned with the responsibility of planning for physical infrastructure for public primary schools in the state.
When this government come into power, they declare emergency in education to ensure that they upgrade it. And the governor or the administration gave almost 10 to 11 billion for renovating and constructing schools, right from primary to junior secondary school and senior secondary school, which shows how the administration is concerned with making education better and providing more access to the public.
From Rigasa to Angwansariki to Tudunwada to Kakuri to Kabala to Sabon Tasha, schools in Kaduna Metropolis have enjoyed renovation and reconstruction. The story sounds appealing.
Like in 2014, we constructed renovated 124 new class, constructed new class 124. And like in 2015, we constructed 270 new classes. We constructed in 2016 324. You can see how it is rising the number year after year. You see that always the subsequent years, the classes being built exceed the previous years. That is how we are saying, what the inshallah will come over that we have very few to renovate or the go for expansions. And we also build laboratories for junior secondary school, exam hall, and other facilities like boreholes. We made also furniture to every new construction being.
In spite of all these giant strides, one can only salute the will of the current government. However, there is still so much that is to be done for renovation impacts to be felt across board. Places like Tirkania, Nasarawa, Hayung Rigasa, Sabon Gari, amongst others, still have schools that are in bad shape. At least, SUBEB accepts this as true.
Right now, we have more than 60% in completion stage. So if you go around Kaduna State public primary schools, you can see a lot of them. We are not saying that we have been able to cover 50% because of the massive number of schools we have in the state, as I said, but we are going gradually.
Apart from the obvious challenge of getting all schools renovated or upgraded, increase the enrollment and campaigns to get more out of school children back in school means that government must be ready to provide more classes to accommodate everyone conducively. Already, public schools are overpopulated, as suggested by the head of the Parents Teachers Association (PTA) in Kaduna State.
I can only tell you that we don't have enough manpower in our school. That is good. And I can only tell you that our schools are overpopulated enrollment of our.
To employ more teachers, build more classrooms, laboratories, libraries, provide learning materials, the government must have the political will to spend more than it has already. Funds are central to achieving total reforms in this sector. In 2015, Subeb was allocated 1.1 million naira, and by 2017, it had risen to 1.9 million naira. If the state government does not provide its own funds, the federal government cannot release its counterpart funding, neither would international bodies support growth in the sector. The Kaduna State government presented its budget for 2020 and it marked 25% to education. This indeed is quite laudable, while stakeholders have expressed hope that funds would be released as allocated. Public perception of public primary schools in Nigeria is one that leaves a bitter taste in the mouth. A lot of Nigerians would rather have their children attend privately owned schools than public schools. This was not obtainable in the past. People attended public schools and got quality education. Private schools were a luxury and not necessarily a necessity.
As I have always said, we'll never compromise on the quality of teachers. We'll never treat teaching as the backup job. You teach while looking for another job. That's not how it should be. Teaching should be a first choice. You either want to teach and care about children, or you shouldn't be in the classroom. And our hope is that we'll try to bring this kind of teachers with that kind of attitude into all our classrooms.
Most of today's leaders in Nigeria attended public schools. One only wonders why they have allowed these schools to rot to the level they have across the federation. The time to resurrect our schools was yesterday. The next best time is today.